Hello and welcome to another episode of Boxing with Paul. And today, I'm excited to bring you all Samsung's Galaxy A14 5G, Samsung's refresh to their budget 5G device. Let's take a look at it. Released back in January, this phone is Samsung's cheapest 5G offering. This device retails for $239.99 for the 64GB version that is carried in most prepaid retailers such as Boost, Cricket, and Metro by T-Mobile. Starting a few years ago, Samsung, just like Apple, started shipping with these smaller, slimmer boxes because they are no longer including wall adapters in the boxes. As this is a budget device, even their packaging is budget with this very thin cardboard that feels more like construction paper. In the box, we got a very cheap twisted wire SIM ejector tool that you got with the majority of Samsung's and the majority of Apple devices. Again, this is a shame as they used to include quite nice SIM ejector tools before they started economizing and trying to cut back every single penny that they could. Terms and conditions, nice quick start guide, and we also got a Type-C to Type-C USB cable that is supposed to allow for up to 15 watts of fast charging, which is rubbish because most phones do much higher wattages of charging, and I'm going to guess that they kept it at such a low charging speed because, again, this is Samsung's budget 5G device. The device itself is a similar looking slab of glass and plastic coming in at 202 grams, so 7 grams heavier than the Galaxy A13 5G from last year's model. We have a 6.6 inch 1080 by 2408 90 Hz PLS LCD display, so we went from having a 720p screen to having full HD, which on a screen this small is a nice touch to have. We typically didn't have that until we got to really high-end devices. Think flagship, think Galaxy S series, think S20, 21, 22. Those were the ones that had this nicer, higher pixel density screen. Again, I stated earlier, this is a very, very similar looking slab of glass and plastic. We do have a textured back that is nice to see just because we had these shiny glossy backs for the longest, and it's nice to see some texture as opposed to, again, the very glossy surfaces that usually get scratched the heck either way. Since we're looking at our screen, we do have a 13 megapixel lens for our selfie that's able to shoot a 1080p video at 30 frames per second, which is quite an increase from last year's 5 megapixel sensor. Again, the A13 5G went from having a 5 megapixel to having a 13 megapixel wide angle lens, which is, again, quite an upgrade. Now, when we look at the left side of the phone, we're going to see our SIM/SD card tray. When we look over at the top, we're going to see a pinhole microphone. When we look over on the right, we can see our volume up, volume down slider, as well as our power button. And you can also see me being driven up the wall because every single time I'm just trying to adjust my volume, I'm trying to turn it up, I'm trying to turn it down. I wind up ending my phone call. I wind up turning off my screen. I wind up just not having a good time in enjoying the media that I am trying to enjoy on my device. So if manufacturers could please put volume sliders and power buttons on opposite sides, I'd greatly appreciate that. Something else that's worth noting is that our power button also doubles as a fingerprint reader, as even though that's old news, it's still nice to have some functionality and not have just everything poorly thought out. When we look at the bottom of our device, we can see our speaker grill as well as our Type-C port, one more pinhole microphone, and would you look at that, a headphone jack, something that much more expensive, much more advanced companies and devices decided to leave out of the device, which, as we can all tell, was a huge mistake. On the rear, we have a triple camera array with our 50 megapixel sensor, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor, which is a very similar array from the Galaxy A13 5G from last year. Inside, we're going to have 64 gigabytes of storage, paired to 4 gigabytes of RAM, as well as a MediaTek MT6833 processor with 2 of its cores clocked in at 2.2 gigahertz for those heavier, more power-intensive tasks, and then the remaining 6 clocked in at 2.0 gigahertz for those lighter day-to-day tasks. We have a nerfed version of this chipset, as the Exynos one comes in with 2 of its power cores clocked in at 2.4 gigahertz versus 2.2 gigahertz, so just a slightly higher clock speed. We do have dual-band Wi-Fi AC, as well as Bluetooth 5.2, FM radio, NFC for Google Wallet, as well as a 5,000 milliamp hour battery and a 15-watt charging capacity. And the last thing that's left to do is for us to run the Geekbench test. And again, this confirms our previous iteration of 6 cores clocked in at 2.0 gigahertz and the remaining 2 power cores clocked in at 2.2 gigahertz for those heavier, more power intensive tasks. And I will be right back with you guys as soon as this is over. Okay, and we are back. We got a 686 for the single core and a 1786 for the multi-core score. You can go ahead and look those numbers up yourself. These are very good numbers, as not that long ago from the Galaxy A20, we got a 180 something for the single core. I'd say we come such a long way. And of course, we can't go by without testing out the camera on this thing. And it looks like we're able to shoot portrait mode from our selfie lens. So then let's go ahead and... Geez, that was a selfie in portrait mode on the Galaxy A14 5G. And then let's go ahead and turn this sideways. And then, can we turn that up? Oh, FHD, okay. So then, this is what video looks and sounds like on the selfie camera of the Galaxy A14 5G. It is... it's a very average looking camera. It is not the best, and we're giving it the absolutely best chance that it can possibly have by having all the lighting that it can have made available to it. You guys let me know in the comments just how good or how bad this camera quality is. And then on the same token, let's go ahead and flip our cameras around, and then this is what video looks and sounds like on the main camera of the Galaxy A14 5G. Again, this is supposed to be a better, much more advanced camera than a budget device. However, you guys be the judge of how good or how bad this camera quality is just as soon as we upload it into the MacBook. Go ahead and leave in the comments, what are your thoughts on this device? It is a very, very similar device as to last year's Galaxy A13, as this is a 5G budget device. But again, nothing out of the ordinary. And as always, thanks for watching.